You don't want to go looking for another house?
No, we're good. I think we're happy where we're at. But I think it's this time around, year two, is you're investing a lot more into the players as opposed to, hey, we're getting together as a staff, trying to, make sure we saw things the same way, how Coach Rossi wanted this defense to look like, his terminology, those things. And then obviously after a year of the staff is now, hey, we know what the system is. Okay, now what can we do to the system to help improve from year one to year two? So now we can have a little bit of input because we kind of understand the system. We have both feet on the ground in terms of what it's supposed to look like. When it was really, really successful, what gave us some issues, and so now as a defensive staff, those conversations in the meeting rooms are a lot more meaningful.
Okay. Appreciate that. Thank you.
When you mentioned studying different defenses, anyone in particular you guys watched?
Yeah. So whenever you're looking at trying to improve something, we always start with who did it well. And in this conferences, there's a lot of teams in this conference that did it well, all right? Because obviously they did it well against teams that we will face at some time. So yeah, so that's kind of where we start. Like, okay, who did it well? Why was it well? And then obviously then we look into, hey, who's similar to us structure-wise, defensively, in terms of just ideas. And that's kind of more wholesale, not necessarily just this conference, but in college football itself. Obviously the NFL, like there's a lot of things going on. Third down's a big situation that if you win that situation, your chances go up and win a football game. So it was schematically trying to see what we can add and or improve ours. There's some techniques that we kind of looked at that similar teams that with our structure that they showed on tape that we wanted to investigate and look at and implement during spring ball and see what it looks like and trying to make some final decisions on whether it works for us or not.
So you've had some early impressions of Brady, and then where does he sort of fit in position-wise for you guys?
Yeah. So Grady is exactly who we wanted or who we recruited. The maturity in terms of him is I think he's come in and affected the room in a positive way in terms of his maturity, his leadership skill. He's played a lot of football, so it's not like a guy that hasn't played a lot of football. So I like his process. I think it's really, really important for him to be at a place where he feels like he can win a championship. And so he's been a great addition. He fits right in. He's been a sponge, in terms of coming in and trying to learn our guys, learn the system, and then as he's felt more and more comfortable, you see a little bit more of Grady coming out of the shell, meaning, hey, I think he took a step forward in being one of the leaders in the room. I think he's taken a step forward in terms of what his role and what he can do for us and what we were looking for in that role when we were recruiting that role.
Inside mostly, though, or could he play a little outside?
Yeah, he's spent most of his career as an interior rusher, and so that's where he'll play for us.
You mentioned staff cohesion. What's the biggest thing you've learned about Joe Rossi and the way he wants to run defense you didn't know 12 months ago?
Yeah, I think in our short time together in that first year, that one thing that I know about Coach Rossi is that he's one of the best football minds I've been around in terms of when it talks to defensively. The system that he's implemented into this and then how to get to the system. I think he's one of the best teachers of his system, in terms of what he does. I think he does a great job with just bringing everybody together from staff to the players to the staff to the players, and then staff to staff. So I think he's the whole package in terms of what he brings to this defense. And I think it shows, obviously as a defense in first 10 practices over the course of the year being around Coach Rossi, what that does. And so he's really knowledgeable about football. He's really knowledgeable about his system, and he's got almost every answer to things that go wrong in the system, and that obviously helps when you got somebody that is a master of his system.
With Dunnigan, I guess, how did you see his development, and what are, not just with him,
Yeah.
but guys who make that leap up from, lower division or mid-major to the power conferences? What have you seen over time in terms of development, how long it takes maybe some years like that?
Well, I think I'm going to take this opportunity to give a shout out to our strength and conditioning staff, what they've done with these guys since they got on in. Like, this room looks different, they move different, they act different. I think in their responsibility in developing our guys to be able to give us what we need to work with so we can build a good football team. And I think it starts with with Q or Dunnigan. I think he's moving as well as I've ever seen him move. He's moving better now than he did a year ago, and he put in the same amount of work. I just think over the course of a year, and obviously working together with our strength and conditioning staff, he's just one of the examples. But I tell you what, that whole room I'm really excited about, because coming out of winter or that summer workouts, like now that I've been about a year, like guys don't look the same. Physically, guys don't move the same physically, and there's guys that are willing to endure more. Like they've gotten a little bit tougher, they've gotten hardened because of the strength and conditioning program and what they've been able to do with them over whatever 6-8 period they had since January started. So spring football looks different than a year ago for us.
Is that the biggest piece for the guys who make the jump in level? Is it strength and that?
I think so. Usually, we're fortunate that we have a lot of resources here that aids in their development, not necessarily just the football piece. There's a lot of great coaches where these guys come from. Obviously, Q was coached by some of the best coaches, that gave him the ability to be a good football player. But then coming here to this, and then add that other excellent element of the nutrition piece of it, the strength and conditioning piece of it, the training room, the medical staff, and what they do with our guys. Like all that, I think helps, and obviously sped up his development, I think. And I think he's grown from year 1 to year 2. Even though he's been in college for a long time, I think he's made a big jump as an athlete, from last year to this year, and what we're seeing out of him right now.
Numbers-wise, do you feel good about where you are in your room, or is there a spot you'd like to add a body here or there? Because you guys did play a lot last year. You guys last year.
No, I feel really good with the room. I'm really happy with what we're getting done in the first 10 practices. Like I said before, like this room is different from a year ago. And then different, like physically, different, like mentally, like different in terms of how. Obviously, we all felt the hurt, and the pain of last season, the losses, and I think those guys took it to heart. No, we don't necessarily look to add pieces. Obviously, in this day and age, you don't know what happens and whatnot, but we don't anticipate adding any pieces to this group. I think we can win with this room. We got a lot of work to get done, but I say that confidently because these guys show up to work. The work they put in the winter, the work they put in so far in spring ball, their approach since spring ball started leads me to believe they're heading in the right direction to be able to give us a chance to win a championship.
When a guy like Matt Hansen graduates and moves on, that's a big loss of leadership. I'm curious who in your room is maybe stepping into that work.
Yeah. I love Mav. So Mav was awesome. I think, in terms of, the legacy that Mav had left, I think he started something here with this room. Number one is just how, talk about a real Spartan. Like that guy is a real Spartan, and obviously, I learned a lot about him and the history of this program and what it takes to be able to wear this green and white. And so I think that bled over to the room right now, in terms of being a proud Spartan. So it's hard to replace that, but I think he got the room started in that direction, in terms of the next guys to step up and he kind of painted a picture of what it's supposed to look like, in terms of your everyday approach, showing up every single day, the toughness he displayed, and then the work ethic, and then obviously be able to endure a lot of hard things and still at the end stand on 2 feet, stand tall, and be proud of what the work he did.
What kind of growth have you seen from Jalen Thompson from last year to now?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
What kind of growth have you seen from Jalen Thompson?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, like Jalen, he's a special athlete. He's got a lot of qualities that's going to allow him to hopefully, knock on some wood, that if he continues to get better, he's going to do this for a long time. And so I think the biggest growth is that he's got a year in the system. Number one, I think that always helps because now we got tape of year of him executing what we're wanting to execute. So I think he's going to grow that way in terms of just the football IQ piece and what he can and can't do in this system. And then physically, like I talked about before, the strength and conditioning staff, like even him, who's played a lot of football, and he looks different now than he did a year ago. These guys got all their weights up, they're sustaining them. Like that alone is going to give him a chance. Being a year in the system and then obviously getting bigger, faster, stronger from the winter break, lead us to believe that he's having a great spring for us. And for us, it's not a surprise because of the work he's put in before spring started.
Same thing with Van Summer.
Yeah.
Another guy that kind of in that same vein. I think, did he do something to catch your eye at camp? Because thinking back, I think he started game 1, and it was a little bit of a surprise because he had been hadn't heard much about him. He had been hurt before that. Like,
Yeah.
What has he done to kind of elevate himself over the course of the year?
Well, I think the first thing, when we first got in a year ago, this time, he wasn't available. He was recovering from an injury, so I didn't necessarily know what he could do. Obviously we can assume that he was going to be a good player, but, I think Alex coming into fall camp, as a fall camp starter, you knew that he needed to knock some rust off. It was also like, hey, the guys that learned the system only played in the system one semester ahead of him, so it wasn't like he had he was in coming in and trying to play in a system that's been around for about 4 or 5 years and trying to catch up that way. So obviously that helped. And then you talk about a guy that's, he's as tough as they come. Fundamentally, the way he prepares, the toughness he brings every single day through the course of fall camp as it continued to go forward. I felt like he gave us the best chance to win football games, and I'm not sure, but I think he started every game for us because I felt like he gave us the best chance to win football games. And so he's got to take another step this year. I think the room has elevated that, so he can't be the same Alex that he was a year ago. So like everybody in that room, they got to take another step forward.
Last one for Coach here.
When we talk numbers, would you like to play as many guys as you did last year? Ideally, I guess.
Yeah, I think that always helps. Like one of the things I do know about this room is that so far in spring football, as I sit there and I look and say, how many guys can we feel good about winning a football game if they had to be in a game? And I can tell you right now, in terms of what that room is, there's more than just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in that room that I feel like, hey, if the game season started today, right, where we at, like, hey, I feel good about throwing guys in. Now, whether we need to play them more or not, like I'm hoping still, like we don't know exactly where the ceiling is just yet because we got a spring ball to finish, we got summer to go, and then we got fall camp to go. I would hope that, hey, whatever guys start separating a little bit more and give me a reason to keep them on the field a little bit more.
Do you have 8? Could you have a full 2 deep? Do you feel that good about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So where we are right now, I feel good about this room, and I feel like, hey, we can walk into a game with about 8 guys that can play in a game, and we feel like can win a football game for us.
Thank you.